unorganized in my opinion, right? And so I like to, whenever I create content, whenever I have a chat, I want to send that caption and those contents to a database so I can actually see everything in one central place, right? Once when that is kind of logged in and it's good to go, I'll just assign a date in this database, or I could have AI do it, but for simplistic purposes, I'm just going to say I'm going to assign a date. And basically, I have a couple automations that are triggered based on once when it actually lands in Airtable and the date goes live. So for example, let's just say like, oh, I have a post that goes off, it's coming out today. I probably do, right? I have a post that goes off today. Airtable will say, hey, your post is going live because it's today's date and this is the date that you assigned it to schedule. It will send and trigger a Zapier automation. And so basically it takes the data from my database, takes the content in the post, puts it to Zapier, and Zapier will start an automation that says like, oh, there's a new record that is for today's date that needs to be scheduled. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make sure to use, send that information to Metricool. Metricool is actually a social media scheduling platform. You can use it like manually and like manually update it, but you also can put it in a Zapier automation where it actually takes the post, puts it into Metricool, and sends it to Facebook, Threads, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, all those things in one step in Zapier. And that's what it does. I haven't touched a scheduler in like 5 years. In terms of like, I don't manually schedule everything. I just have an automation do it. Right. And so like, yes, like I could have done it myself and maybe saved $67 a month, but like 45 minutes times, like I post 3 times a day, like that's a lot. Right. And so I'm using these automations to take care of that.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot of information and a lot of different programs. So I'll just use me as an example. So I just finished my rockstar romance novel. So if I am going to want to advertise this in marketing, what would you say would be like step 1 to step 10 if I wanted to market this book, like using all of the AI programs and all of that? Like, how would you start?
Yeah, it's actually funny. I used to work for a coach that actually helped with self-published writers, actually. So great conversation. So I think at the baseline, what I would recommend doing first is like, yes, there's content for marketing, but actually the best thing that you want to do first is make sure you have an email list, right? Because best way I can describe it is if you have a ton of followers on social media, but then like you lose all of them, then you have no backup plan, right? So my first step is maybe create kind of like an email list and maybe a freebie. A freebie that you could do is like, this is the lost chapter, maybe that you edited out, right? That you wanted to only give to people who wanted to read it, right? As an example. And I would put that freebie link in the book itself, because if anyone reads the book, they should also be on your newsletter, right? And so you're going to leverage that freebie as the call to action for all of your content. And so when it comes to leveraging AI and automation, this is more up to you if you want to do it, right? But like if you have the transcripts of the book, right? Manuscript, of the book, I would actually probably upload it into AI and say like, hey, like here, like, can you pull out the scenes that are viral, or can you pull out the scenes that grab attention or that can have a great storyline, things like that. And then it could actually probably, analyze the entire manuscript, select those scenes, and then I would say, hey, can you actually probably create like a post that talks about this? And you could probably write it in such a way of like, this long lost sister, came across this beautiful gentleman, whatever the case would be, right? Like whatever the hook is, you could take those little mini scenes and those storylines and, almost create the hooks. And it's almost like, when you think about movies, right? They're creating trailers of the actual movie itself. And so it's like, how do you apply that to the book? How do I create like mini trailers of the book itself? And then once it's the same workflow, right? Like I'm having a conversation with chat. I'm sending it to a database so that I can log all the information, all the posts that it created, and then I'm using a distribution automation to distribute it everywhere. And
Okay.
then the call to action in every post needs to be, hey, click the link in my bio so that we can actually get the long lost chapter that you've never seen or a sneak peek, right?
Oh, okay.
It's,
That's
yeah,
great advice. I haven't never thought about that.
yeah.
So to get back a little bit, so if you were to collect the emails, what platform do you use for that?
I use MailerLite. I recommend MailerLite. It's the best
Okay.
platform that gives you like the best free plan, in my opinion. It's been a minute since I've looked at the pricing, but from what I recall, they have free automations, free landing pages, and free email subscribes until up
Okay.
until a certain subscriber base.
Okay.
And I was on the free plan for years until my subscriber base grew a lot and I started into paying for it. So it's also the most cost effective that I've seen across different platforms.
Okay. Well, hey, that's great. And I think that's great for anybody else that's out there that, is starting their side hustle and they need, ground zero. So I think this is great for us millennial moms that are a little getting old now, trying to keep up with all the technology. So I think that's great information. So I know a lot of listeners are trying to build something working full time or raising kids. So what encouragement would you give to someone who feels kind of behind in all the technology?
Yeah, my best advice for someone who's feeling a little bit behind in the technology is really just buy the $20 a month subscription. I recommend Claude and actually just start playing with it, like tinkering it with it, like see what you could do. If you have a question, right? Maybe instead of going to Google, maybe you go to Claude, right? And see what it comes up with it. Or you could like take it with your personal use cases. What I personally do on my personal use case is like I'd like to track my macros on my fitness pal, right? So I'll take a screenshot shot of like, okay, like I've eaten this much macros through the day, but I don't know what's a plan for dinner to make sure I hit my macros, right? So I will take a screenshot and I'll upload it to an AI and say like, hey, can you give me some recipe ideas that hit that target that I'm looking for? And then it'll give me a couple recommendations, right? And so it's just like start playing with it. Like $20 a month, like that's maybe like a couple coffees, right? You can afford to spend with this. And like, for $20 a month, this tool has saved me hours a month, right? And,
Really?
your time is worth it. So that's what I would say to get started.
Very true. Okay, so what mindset shift do you think creators need right now?
If you're not using AI and automation to amplify your voice across every platform, then you will get forgotten. And the reason why I say that is because when we look at like where the trends of AI is going, like it's not leaving. It truly isn't. And so to think that like it's not going to happen, I think is maybe a little bit delusional in my opinion. Again, this is a hot take. The other piece of it is if you want to show up on AI search or just show up in like search in general, you have to be multi-platform. Because think about it this way. When Google is trying to identify who you are, if you only show up on one platform, that only is one reference to Google as an example. They're not going to have that much information to really have a, I would say, accurate understanding of who you are. But if you're posting on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, all the places, that's multiple references that these AI large language models can reference and say, oh, this is this person, right? And it probably has a higher confidence score with that piece as well. And so that's why I'm saying, like, if you're not using AI and automation, you will be forgotten because respectfully, like, there's only so much you can do as a human. I can realistically only, like, if I did this all by myself, I can only post on one platform. That's all the energy I have. Especially, again, this might be a hot take. Hopefully it's okay. You can edit this out. But, like, especially, like, when you're going through your cycles, right? Like, there are moments where, like, I am high. I have all this energy. And then there are moments where, like, I'm done. Can't do it, right? And so the systems that are in place that allow you to execute when you're in that I'm done, this is not life is not lifing for me, those are the things that you're going to fall back on, and you need those systems in place in order for you to show up everywhere.
That's amazing. That's kind of like having like 10 assistants.
Yeah,
It's awesome because that's what they always say is like in business is what happens to you when you die, like you're going to have someone to take over. So I guess
hmm
if the automation is there, then you're good to go.
for sure, for sure.
So what do you think is one thing that people should stop overthinking when it comes to marketing?
I think they should stop overthinking about the post being perfect or like doing it, especially if you're in the beginning, right? Like you actually don't have that much to lose in the beginning because if you have like 0 followers, who's going to remember the post that you set up, right? Like, so like there's so much perfectionism that comes down to it, and myself included are like, oh, I want to say it this way, I want to say it that way, but like nobody's gonna remember like 5 years from later down the line. So just post. It's like putting in reps, right? Like as you go to the gym, like the more reps you put, the stronger your muscle gets, right? Same thing with content, like and posting on social media. The more reps you put, the better you get. You realize the techniques you need to, implement all those things. That's the time I think for you. Actually, being a beginner is the best time for you to start experimenting and seeing what content works and lands for you.
Cool. Okay, so now for the fun. So, Instagram, TikTok, or podcast? Which is your favorite?
Ooh, I think I like podcasts more as both a consumer but also like a speaker on it.
Okay. What is the one AI tool that you can't live without?
I have two. One is Zapier for sure, and the other one is Airtable.
Okay. What is your biggest productivity hack?
I actually I actually go old school on this. I guess I have a bunch of AI tools, but I actually can't live with like my pen to paper notebook. So
Okay.
like our actually my planner, it's like the productivity planner from Intelligent Change. I get the quarterly edition, and it's actually
Okay.
a practice I do every Sunday just to map out my week by hand, and that helps me.
That's awesome. That's a
Yeah,
great strategy.
yeah.
So, what is one piece of advice that you wish someone had told you sooner?
Invest in the model and the lifestyle you want for your business. I think a lot of, especially in this space, there's a lot of coaches that really use money as the way that is their marketing. And they're only using money as their way of marketing of like, oh, I made $1 million a month as an example. Like these statements just get way too big over time, right? Where it seems a little bit not real. And the question that I always ask, I actually don't invest a ton into coaching anymore or coaching programs. I mostly just do one-off sessions when I need them. But the thing that I really learned quickly from a coaching program is like you have to, when you're investing in a coach and you're investing in a program, you have to understand like what is the model that they're selling you and what is the lifestyle that they're having, right? So for example, like a lot of coaches, they'll sell, like they say like, oh, you need to do sales calls as your way to make money and all these things. I hate doing sales calls, right? So why would I invest in a program that does sales calls, right? Or like anything that's along those lines. And so it's just thinking about like, okay, does the person who's selling this program, do they live the lifestyle that I actually want to live? And if the answer is no, then don't give them your money. So,
True that. True
yeah.
that. Alrighty. Well, as we end our conversation, I really appreciate you being here today, and you've given me a lot of insights on a lot of things. So I really appreciate all of your information and your expertise. Is there anything else that you want to leave us with? Is there anything that was left unsaid?
Well, I'd love to have and invite your community to my audience. So if you would love to find me, you can actually join my newsletter. It's creatorsclub.tinalopez.com, or you could just go to tinalopez.com if it's easier. You'll get signed up a different way. But that's just really the place where I have like over 3,000 female founders or just founders in general who are looking to leverage AI and automation in their marketing. And I love to send a weekly newsletter to talk more about that and to really upskill you and make sure that you go from invisible to being inevitable. And we do that with AI and automation. So I'd love to invite your community there.
Excellent. Perfect. Well, I really appreciate you being here today. And I guess I'm going to let you go. But for all my viewers, always, feel free to share this if you found this interesting. And I will see you next time.
Bye.